The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the webinar responding to COVID-19. Over the last couple of weeks, EMEA has been increasingly hit by Corona, and we understand the impact that it's having on your business. So we very much appreciate the time that you are all taking to watch this webinar. Before we get into the content, I would like to hand over to Regina, our director of Facebook Central Europe.
Thank you, Laurie, and I really want to say a very warm welcome. I'm so happy that so many of us had the chance to dial in. We have up to 1,000 participants this morning from across literally 34 markets. All of us, or most of us, probably working from home under fairly different conditions. And I just want to acknowledge how different this situation is for all of us on three different levels. First of all, on the level, the first duty of care is really for our loved ones, for our family, for our friends, and making sure that we feel safe and that we feel that we are in the best possible place and taking care of those who matter the most to us. And then second, of course, many of us, whether you are self-employed or you work in a large company or a small company, we are looking out for our colleagues, for our peers, for our team members, and keeping everybody inspired, motivated, and hanging in there as well as they can, right? And on the third level, all of us at the moment are probably quite concerned about the business. Whether you work in an agency or you work in a small company, larger company, from whatever vertical, we are all trying to understand and process this and make the best of the situation under some very different circumstances. And it feels good, in my opinion, to be able to do something. And that's why I'm really happy that we've put together content today that Laurie and Babette are going to walk you through. And we're going to cover what can be done in practical terms, right? So how is Facebook responding to the situation? What should you know about changing consumer behavior in this very unprecedented time? What is it you can concretely do? And also, what are some best practices and group by vertical so that we can equip you with everything that you can do to support each other and to support your business and also yourself. So with that, I'd really like to hand it over to Laurie and Babette from our wonderful Benelux team.
Thank you so much, Regina. I'm Laurie, that's me talking here, and together with Babette, who is also working from home, so you can see her on the other camera, we'll be hosting the webinar today. Like Regina mentioned, we understand the difficult times you're all going through, so we hope to provide you with some insights that will help you connect with your customers in the right way. Please ensure, or please beware that this is the data that we have as of today. The situation is evolving, so there is a lot of uncertainty and things that we don't know yet. What we will be sharing is what we know as of today and the insights that you can leverage to mitigate the risk or minimize the impact on your business. We also know that there are many different types of businesses in this webinar from different countries. The situation will be different for each of you, but we hope that all of you will leave with some concrete takeaways so that you can make sure that you mitigate the risks on your business. Please note that we won't be able to send you the PowerPoint, but we are recording this session and we will be sharing it afterwards so that you can always refer back to this session and the slides if you prefer so. So before we move on, let's focus a bit on what is the coronavirus and what is COVID-19, because these terms are being used interchangeably, but there is a slight difference. Coronaviruses are a large family of viruses which may cause illness in animals or humans. In humans, several coronaviruses are known to cause respiratory infections, ranging from the common cold to more severe diseases, such as Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, otherwise known as MERS, and the Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome, or SARS. COVID-19 is the infectious disease caused by the most recently discovered coronavirus. This new virus and disease were unknown before the outbreak of this global pandemic began in Wuhan in China end of last year. Because of this quickly spreading virus, it is impacting people and their behavior and therefore businesses around the globe. The data of this chart is as of 11th of March. We know that this is a pandemic, so the numbers are increasing rapidly. but this should give you a good understanding of impact per market, even though numbers will have increased by now. So what you can see from here is, of course, that currently Italy is the worstly affected country, but also it's quickly, if you look at cases per 1 million people, Switzerland is following, Norway, but also currently France. You can use this chart to get an understanding of the impact of a country that you are located in, or impact on markets that you are doing business in. So we'll talk about the following today. First of all, it's important to take a step back and to share what we are doing in response to the outbreak. Then second of all, how consumer behaviors change in the context of COVID-19. And third, how can you as a business react or respond to COVID-19? Then fourth of all, the best practices and recommendations per vertical. We unfortunately cannot focus on all the verticals, but we've chosen to focus on the biggest and most impacted verticals by COVID-19. And then fifth, summary and the next steps. As mentioned earlier, this data is as of today, so please use your best judgment when sharing this recording with colleagues or using the recommendations that we're sharing today at a later stage. So how does Facebook respond to the outbreak? Facebook is taking action in three main ways. First of all, we're providing helpful information and support, like educational pop-ups, prioritizing credible resources, and for example, giving WHO the opportunity to share the right information with people. For example, on March 2nd, to aid in the COVID-19 response, Facebook pledged unlimited ad credits to the World Health Organization for related outreach. Mark Zuckerberg commented as many free ads as they need. And next to this, we, for example, also have offered ad credits to other health organizations, and we're working closely with Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, UNICEF, and national ministries of health. Then second of all, we're trying to limit misinformation and harmful content. We have a global network of third-party fact checkers. They enforce our policies and make sure that there are no ads making health or medical claims related to the coronavirus, and ads or commerce listing for medical face masks, for example. Then third of all, we're empowering partners with data tools. For example, working with Harvard to share anonymized and aggregated mobility and population density data to inform their forecasting model with regards to COVID-19. We've created a business resource hub to help manage through and building resilience during COVID-19 outbreak. In this hub, you will find the latest information, quick tips, guides, training, and resources within the context of COVID-19. And we will be sharing the link to this hub for your reference after the webinar. Then we also created our Safe and Sound guides. Some of you might have already received it, maybe some of you have not. This is a guide to help businesses in their response to the coronavirus. We have a general guide, but we also have specific ones for travel, e-commerce, and retail verticals. Also in the follow-up email, we will include download links to these guides. But next to this, Facebook offers a platform for people to come together in these difficult times. People are spending more time on our platform to still build those social connections. And the platforms are used by people to fight the virus together. For example, fundraisers are being set up. Communities come together digitally to help the elderly with their groceries, for example. Important to note is that there is a big opportunity for businesses currently in the coronavirus. Think from your customers' shoes. What are they going through? And how can you create this community and around your brands and be a trusted partner to your customers? And I would like to hand over to Babette, and she will tell a bit more about how consumer behaviors change in the context of COVID-19.
Sure. Thank you, Laurie. So in the second part, we will be sharing how consumer behaviors are changing in the context of coronavirus. The new way of communication and doing business creates challenges for all of us. The insights we are presenting today are derived from APAC, as well as what we are currently seeing and feeling in EMEA. We know that many countries are joining today, so we will be sharing stats of different countries to give you a range of valuable insights. We encourage you to use the following insights to get a better understanding of how, in these difficult times, you can still create that valuable interaction with your customers. Next slide, please. So this slide shows research done by Kantar and gives us valuable learnings from the situation in Asia. It shows that in general, people are concerned and worried about falling sick, 46%. But even more notably, people are worried about their financial situation. 60% of people feel the situation demands them to be even more proactive about financial planning and security for the future. This will, of course, have implications about how people spend their money during the outbreak and potentially afterwards. For example, people might invest less in luxury goods and travel and might save more money to create a stable financial situation for themselves. To give you an understanding of rationale per country, we have included a study done by Ipsos, covering some key markets in EMEA. As mentioned before, be aware this is data as of February, but it gives you a good sense of consumer sentiment and behavior. Next slide, please. So in France, for example, we see that 49% of individuals believe that COVID-19 poses a high level of threat. Germany and UK, with 47% and 43%, are not far behind. Next slide. And as a result, we also observe that people are concerned about shops running out of groceries. This is 67% in the UK. We have seen this happening in real life across EMEA over the last weeks. We've specifically seen an uplift in people buying their groceries online to avoid human interaction and to ensure they'll get the food they need. Next slide, please. But also beyond EMEA, people are worried. In Russia, 40% of people believe COVID-19 poses a high level of threat. And for the Middle East and Africa region, this is even higher, standing at 59%. Next slide, please. So, as mentioned before, across countries, people expect to see a personal financial impact. And this impact is growing over time as we observe an increase across the board. The gray bar on this slide indicates data as of half of February. The pink one shows the results 2 weeks later. As you can imagine, if we would poll right now, we could expect an even higher result. Next slide. So, not surprisingly, this financial concern disrupts people's plans and activities. The graph on this slide, based on a study of Ipsos, shows that disruption in regular activities is already happening across EMEA. People change their behavior, either because they want to avoid risk of getting contaminated or because of government restrictions. Therefore, people stay at home, avoid public spaces, and thus interact with businesses in a different way. What you can see on this slide is that the gray bar indicates the percentage of people that have stopped traveling outside of their country, and the pink bar is showing the percentage of people that have stopped going to major shopping centers. In what follows, we will deep dive into some specific industry trends observed across markets. So, let's start with retail, a highly affected industry. In Italy, we saw a 12.2% week-over-week growth in grocery retail sales and a 35% reduction in out-of-home consumption occasions. This shows that people have stopped going to restaurants or are unable to visit restaurants because of new government rules. But also outside of Italy, in UK, for example, we see that 34% of shoppers have started stockpiling food. And again, today this is happening across the world. Next slide. Also for e-commerce, the outbreak quickly brings changes in consumer behavior. E-com grocery sales have increased by more than 80% week over week. And this is a growth of 3x compared to in-store sales growth. Also, outside of Italy, we expect that 40% of all retail sales could potentially move online if the virus becomes an epidemic. And then there is the travel vertical, an industry that is facing major disruption as most travel is put on hold. Research shows that on March 10th, a 13.5% decrease in airport traffic in Europe was reported. And this corresponds to an expected $29.3 billion revenue impact for 2020. Also, we see that 21% of Britons have started canceling or not booking holidays. This uncertainty puts everything on hold. For fast-moving consumer goods, we also observe some changes in behavior. For example, 35% of UK people indicated they have started improving their personal hygiene as a measure against coronavirus. And not surprisingly, this resulted in a 225% increase in the sales of hand sanitizer in the UK. Interestingly, 49% of consumers are willing to pay a premium for those brands with high quality insurance and verifiable safety standards. And then lastly, maybe less obvious, we see a major impact for the automotive industry. There is a 7% year-on-year decrease in Western Europe car registrations and 9% year-on-year decrease in car sales in Italy. For all car dealers, coronavirus is the most impactful factor in car sales decreases across EMEA. Next slide, please. Yeah. So not surprisingly, as people avoid visiting crowded places and traveling the world, they seek other ways to stay informed, entertained, and connected. People often turn to Facebook to stay connected and informed. This graph shows a percentage of people that use Facebook once a day or every other day during the last 2 weeks of February to stay informed. For Italy, this was, for example, 38%. They use Facebook to inform themselves about recent policy changes and to receive updates from businesses. Next slide, please. So as touched upon before, all industries are impacted, with some seeing more severe consequences than others. This slide shows you the estimated degree of impact in terms of duration, but also the estimated global restart date. So for example, consumer products will have shorter impact duration compared to automotive and travel, and is also expected to pick up earlier. For consumer products, we estimate a global restart as of Q2, whereas travel will only pick up from Q3, Q4 onwards. There are a lot of insight on this slide, so I'll just highlight a few interesting ones. Be aware that you can revisit the slides later when going through the recording. So for example, if we look at consumer goods, we expect demand to recover when disease is perceived under control. In this case, we recommend looking at risk mitigation strategies, such as pursuing online omnichannel strategies. It is critical to stay connected and available to your customers in these uncertain times. When looking at consumer electronics, we have observed a major disruption for companies relying on Wuhan, the hub for semiconductors and fiber optics, and a critical player in global supply chain. Recovery will differ by subsegment and will depend on labor intensity and availability of inventory. And then lastly, when looking at travel, both for airlines and hospitality, we see that travel restrictions, drop in consumer confidence, and corporate policies limiting mass gatherings and non-essential travel are acutely impacting the industry. Impact across airlines is varying, with smaller airlines with lower margin and smaller cash are at high risk, but even larger global networks are at risk, suggesting a much broader, prolonged slowdown. For the hospitality sector, we expect recovery to be faster for domestic travel, around 2 quarters, and longer for international, 3 to 4 quarters, if not longer based on the disease evolution. Next slide, please. So finally, I just wanted to highlight the following interesting research done by Kantar in Asia last month. It shows that as consumers' awareness for their own safety grows, they expect the same with brands on the products and services they offer. So we see that businesses across industries, insurance, consumer goods, and even banking, are challenged by increasingly health-conscious consumers. In every industry, they are expecting products that are healthy and safe to use, and this trend is likely to stick. So, next slide. So to wrap up the second part of the presentation, it is clear that the coronavirus is affecting all businesses. Businesses that require offline consumer experiences, such as local restaurants and shops, that are seeing huge drops in demand because of the lockdown situation across EMEA. Secondly, businesses that rely on other countries for supply and demand, businesses that are sourcing materials abroad, such as electronics, or are selling abroad, exporting companies. And then lastly, any other type of business, luxury, good travel, they are also impacted by restrictions, dropping consumer confidence, and so on. Now I would like to pass on to Laurie, who will talk about responding to COVID-19.
Thank you, Babette. So now that we know that this is impacting or will be impacting all kinds of businesses, we have looked at data on how to respond to COVID-19 in the best way possible. And I see some questions coming in around whether we can share the slides. We won't be sharing the slides, but we will be sharing the recording. So you can still refer back to the information that is on the slides because the slides will be in the recording. I'll be talking about 3 specific points. First of all, how can you focus on business continuity in the short term? Second of all, how can you capture bounce back in the near term? And then third of all, how can you drive structural enhancement in the long term? So first of all, how can you focus on business continuity in the short term? The way that brands deal with the crisis now may influence consumers in the future. And this is being demonstrated by 2 insights from Kantar. So this is a research that they did in February 2020. The first insight is Kantar conducted research about consumer expectations, and they found that people are looking for safety and security in these times. They want to be ensured that the brands that they choose are in control of their supply chains, that they are transparent, and that they are trustworthy. Then the second insight is that people expect brands to deliver real value, to act responsibly, and to do the right thing for the community, including their employees. Brands that were able to deliver purpose in an ethical way saw their value grow twice as much as average brands. So specifically, you can think about 3 main responses. First of all, adapting your customer communication. Second of all, reimagine your marketing strategies. And third, plan the path to recovery. So first of all, adapting customer communication. Consumers seek proactive communication from brands. They want brands to be authentic. So what are your values as a brand? Think about how these can come into play during these times. Maintain proactive and frequent contact with your customers on the different channels that you use. Set realistic expectations for customers. So think about delivery times, response times of customer service, but also hygiene expectations and standards that are asked for or demanded by customers nowadays. Then frequently train your customer service teams. How should they handle requests? What are the updated policies that you're having in response to COVID-19? And then lastly, constantly monitor and act upon customers' feedback. We are in a time where customers are uncertain and therefore might ask for requests outside policy. Take this feedback seriously and incorporate it in your current policies or communications. So for example, think about the different ways and channels that people communicate with your brands and how you can inform them if your supply chain has been impacted, for example, because you import from China or another region in which Corona has hit hard. There are some ways on how you can communicate with customers, and here are just some examples in how you can do that. Of course, think about your homepage of your website and add a special notice about disrupted supply chains. For example, Due to COVID-19, our supply chain and logistic networks in China are experiencing an extended shutdown. We are preparing to ship orders as quickly as possible, but orders may be delayed. Please check your accounts for any updates or contact our customer service operations, and they are expected to resume starting on this date. Think about how this looks on desktop versus mobile so that customers are informed straight away about the disruption. Then on the shipping information page, you should also add a special notice. Our supply chain and logistic networks in China are experiencing an extended shutdown as a result of the coronavirus. While we are working to ship orders to customers as quickly as possible, your order may be delayed. We will provide an update when your order ships. Then the product detail page. Update the processing time if it's applicable to you. If the product detail page indicates processing time, we recommend updating this time frame to reflect the latest situation. For example, normally 1 to 3 business days, up to 7 to 10 or 1 to 2 weeks, depending on the actual situation faced by the merchant. And of course, send an email to your customers with orders pending processing. Our supply chain and logistic networks are experiencing extended shutdowns. We are preparing to ship orders as quickly as possible, starting from this and this day, but your order may be delayed. Once your order is shipped, a ship notification email will be sent to you. You may also check my account for any updates, and customer service will resume on this day and month. We apologize for the inconvenience caused. Thank you for your patience. Next to these ways and channels, you probably use more channels and means of communicating with your customers. Use these to inform them proactively, as this is what customers are expecting from you in these times. Then the next response is to reimagine marketing strategies. Just some food for thought here. Be there for your customers. Are you doing everything within your control to be there for your customers? Think from a customer first point of view and their needs and thoughts right now. Reimagine your existing marketing strategy. If you are always focused on performance marketing, but performance is declining because of coronavirus, it might be worth exploring branding. Branding will ensure that your brand stays top of mind, even in times when customers buy less, so that when the effect of corona is diminishing, your brand is top of mind. Provide an alternative customer experience. Think about online experiences. Think about home delivery, etc. Potentially work with partners to facilitate this. Then highlight relevant product benefits. This can be applied to many different categories, but which product benefits that you have are currently really relevant to the situation. Demonstrate care. Show what you are doing as a brand. Show that you care about your customers and employees. And then leverage platform strengths. People are spending more time at our platforms because they are staying at home. So how can you use that to your advantage so that you can use and connect with your customers in the right way? The way to reimagine your marketing activities is by building trust and affinity. We'll be sharing some tips and strategies to help your business have more control in mitigating disruption and be better placed to deal with the impact of viral outbreaks today. These will be around assurance, assistance, and action. So first of all, assurance. Can you play your role? How is your business stepping up to take precautions? Think about hygiene, as everyone is more concerned and cautious about their health currently. But also, think about how you will be serving customers in a safe way. For example, if you're a gym, think about the gyms that are closing or people that don't feel comfortable going to the gym, but maybe you can offer classes online. Then, assistance. Anticipate what people want to talk about. Put yourself in your customer's shoes and anticipate what they want to talk about. People will have heard all kinds of stories about supply chain disruptions, which could lead to delivery delays or cancellation. Consider an FAQ, consider Messenger, and provide or support and incentives. So for example, like you can see in the example, if you do a follow-up order, we will incentivize you because we will be giving you a discount. Then action. Bring experiences to them on our platform. Bring experiences like order now, pay later, pre-order strategies, free delivery, gift cards. This is all to mitigate the risks for our customers and really drive them to action, and also increase your cash flow if you are struggling in these times. Then lastly, plan the path to recovery. This is a slide with, again, a lot of information. It's about 3 scenarios for how COVID-19 could evolve. It could be quick recovery, it could be global slowdown, or it could be global pandemic and recession. Each of these scenarios will have a different impact on the months to come, with global pandemic and recession being the most impactful on business. These scenarios are complete guesses, estimates, and speculations. So please don't see this information as the truth, as everything is changing so quickly and we don't know how it's going to evolve. If you are not familiar with or you're interested in these different scenarios, please watch the recording of this webinar and pause at this slide to take a look. Instead, let's focus on the things that we can control, and that is how we plan for recovery, which is something that we should all be thinking about. So how do you do that? How do you plan the path to recovery? Most importantly, again, you have to start with showing care and be empathetic. And I cannot stress this often enough. Think about your consumer. How can you help them on the short term? But then, how can you help your business? Prepare business operations and marketing plans for the recovery path. Corona is disrupting all kinds of departments, like marketing, brands, but also the value chain. And it needs all of these departments collectively to create this recovery. So for marketing needs to be flexible and fast response to what is happening in real life. Of course, think about what makes sense from an ad point of view, but we would recommend to avoid removing all ads, but rather reprioritize your marketing channels during the outbreak. For example, keeping an always on later, but shifting to more relevant objectives that are in line with consumer behavior, which is the increased time spent on online platforms. Next to this, start planning your campaigns for when consumer consumption will start to increase again, so that you can quickly pick up your ad spend and performance for when it is the right time. We need the brand teams to adjust communication messages to track customers. Work with PR to demonstrate a reliable brand image. Develop your messaging on how brands can help society heal and rebuild. Craft product stories around home and healthy, and create new selling points. And build on positive image and continue to win with customer support. And then we need the value chain to prepare for a bounce back. Make sure you build in increased demand into your production planning as soon as the end of outbreak is in sight. Let me go one back. So even though there are a lot of challenges, also new opportunities are created to be successful in these times. We think the opportunities are built around 4 key pillars. First of all, digital marketing enhancement. Use the capabilities of digital marketing for effective outreach. Use social marketing and effective CRM to stay engaged. Build stronger relationships with ecosystem partners for better data sharing, joint marketing efforts, etc. The second one is product and range innovations. Make sure that you closely monitor consumer trends and emergence of new demand spaces and/or occasions as part of this outbreak. People will buy differently than before, so make sure that you capture these trends and see what you can offer as a company. If you can, for example, roll out packaging updates, catering to the new needs. Think about occasion-based stock-up bundles that you might be able to offer as a retailer or e-commerce company. Then channel evolution. Shift resources to digital, omni-channel, e-commerce channel, and enhance the capabilities in channel operations. Increase omnichannel touchpoints and improve coordination across channels. So syndicate supply chain and inventory management with your channel strategies. And then lastly, build value chain resilience. So institutionalize proactive threat assessment and monitor leading indicators. Build visibility on supply origin and diversify your supply resources. And then outline contingency plans by crisis type with pre-approved response protocols. Now, let's move into best practices by verticals. These slides, they will have a lot of information, and I will go through the slides with some key takeaways per vertical. Again, if you're interested in a specific vertical, please watch the recording of this webinar and then pause at the right slide so that you can study the details of each slide. The templates, they divide between customer experience and industry trends, business implication, and marketing changes on the short and the mid to long term. So let's start with FMCG. People are shopping across many categories to stock up. There is an increased demand in some categories. Think about food, think about personal care, think about over-the-counter products, and towards shelf-stable and frozen categories. Online shopping has increased as well. This means that the share of shelf for in-demand categories needs to be prioritized to ensure the availability. Plan for supply in unexpected adjacencies, as customers will try to favor smaller ways of shopping and more local shopping. Ensure that your products are stocked in mini markets and convenience stores. And of course, plan for omnichannel, as people will shift towards buying online. This entails that marketing needs to change. Focus on omnichannel, shift budgets to online as people are inside. Craft your story around consumer reassurance rather than product messaging. And keep a leadership mindset. Reach people where they are and ask for their inputs to understand their needs. In the mid to long term, it might mean that consumer behavior may permanently shift with regards to safety, quality assurance, and transparency needs. This has the implication that you need to build visibility on supply chain origin and embed traceability in contracts. Consumer behavior might permanently switch to people buying more online, so make sure that you focus on those omni-channel strategies. Another long-term effect could be that consumers will need to replenish their core categories. So make sure that you review your product mix and claims based on new customer demands and behaviors. Replenish inventory through production planning as soon as the outbreak is in sight. Then let's have a look at e-commerce. So in the short term, people are turning to e-commerce to minimize physical contact, which for some categories will mean that supply chain and delivery are under pressure to cope with increased demands and restrictions. Store closures in some countries will drive people offline. This has implications for supply and delivery, as well as product mix and merchandising. For supply and delivery, think about adjusting inventory levels in real time, identify bottlenecks, and onboard new supply chain partners via ad hoc contracts to ensure the fulfillment. For product mix and merchandising, think about highlighting delivery options and inform about potential disruption over larger bundles like family packs to meet consumer needs. Highlight longer shelf life products to accommodate to stock up behavior. Offer promotion for pre-order of products in high demand. These business implications require marketing changes. Stay top of mind for when people want to buy by using the right channels and tools, and enhance business results. Run consideration campaigns for pre-order promotion and run conversion campaigns promoting healthcare products, for example. On the mid and long term, it might mean that the adoption of e-commerce shopping will be increasing and accelerating. Expectations might change and actually increase. Flexibility and speed of information becomes the new standard and/or a benchmark. This has the implication that there will be increased demand into production planning as soon as the end of the outbreak is in sight. Marketing changes might include keeping momentum on branding efforts during the outbreak and reactivate business as usual, like performance campaigns. Then the retail vertical. This is the vertical that never mind. Retail vertical. In the short term, there will be less frequent store visits due to self or government limitations. Stockpiling behavior that we have all seen over the last weeks, especially during the initial phase, changes the product mix during grocery journeys. Delivery options become a competitive advantage. Implications are on product mix and merchandising. For example, by offering larger bundles to meet consumer needs, as they will make less shopping trips, but with bigger basket sizes, and please use machine learning to showcase the most relevant products. Implication on supply and delivery. Think about adjusting your inventory in real time, update delivery policy, and communicate delivery options, which minimize physical contact. And for Facebook specifically, add a delivery speed in your Facebook page to avoid impact on post-purchase experience survey scores. For marketing, this means staying top of mind by reaching people where they spend their time and gathering customer feedback. Also, focus on enhancing business results by highlighting channel choices online versus in-store and range of options. Run consideration campaigns for pre-order if not having enough stock, and run conversion campaigns promoting healthcare products and other products that might be in high demand right now. On the mid and long term, this might mean that flexible shopping experiences and expectations transfer might create the new norm in omnichannel. There will be a greater online to offline consumer expectation. This has the business implication to integrate the increased demand into production planning as soon as the end of outbreak is in sight. And for marketing, integrate learnings to operation teams so that you're really collaborating and seeing the COVID-19 as a joint effort internally as well. And then travel. Clearly the most affected so far, but airlines and hotels, they still need to drive sales and manage customer concerns. And there are several ways we can help with dynamic pricing and short-term sales through the reassurance for passengers who are booked. For accommodation providers, highlight special measures that your business is taking, including a list of nearby clinics and emergency medical service contact information, as well as on location nurses or medical staff. Communicate easing of cancellation policy for those traveling from and to the affected areas. And then for tour providers, highlight answers to commonly asked questions about cancellation and refunds, and or inform them about what measures your business is taking. Some business implications might be focus on offering for near future holiday events as consumers make decisions in a shorter lead time. Craft your message around well-being. For near future travel planning, promote domestic destinations. For future travel planning, promote areas seen as remote and less affected. Offer flexible policies and booking changes to increase booking confidence. Offer, for example, book now, pay later policies. Offer discounts and promotions. Some marketing changes might be to promote your brand image as trusted and responsible travel providers. Brand awareness campaigns with messages on brand trustworthiness. And think about hosting, for example, a live stream about educational workshops on travel safety. Enhance your business results by reaching the intent audiences with the right messaging, and hereby rely on machine learning. Then impact on the mid and long term. Continuously update your page with dates to ensure travelers that your business is on top of the current trends and issues. Business implications in mid to longer term might be building a network of destination suppliers to shift the focus on different destinations if needed. And then lastly, financial services. And we divide the trends into three main areas: personal, business, as well as industry. So what we see on personal level is that consumers may look into digital first solutions to reduce face-to-face interactions. They will look for safer investments because of financial insecurity. Contactless payment methods are being encouraged. For business, this means the potential to see greater collaboration across financial technology and traditional banks. Businesses will need liquidity help and/or guidance. And then industry. Transaction volume is likely to reduce, especially international payments, which will result in a reduction in fees and loss of profit to smaller fintechs. And market instability will likely reduce venture capitalist investments. So there are some business implications. Think about collaborating across traditional and fintech firms to drive innovation. Think about digital banking services. Stay engaged with clients through messaging services and explore the option of testing online services. Think about digital lending services. And there are some marketing changes. Think from brands and conversion point of view. For example, brands, think of partnerships with other services to enhance the customer experience at this time. For example, what MasterCard and Deliveroo did. And when we're thinking about conversion, focus on app engagement strategies and enhance service through online channels. Build greater in-app strategies. The impact on the mid and long term might be that larger lenders may look at refinancing options or change of terms on loans to keep small businesses thriving. This may expand to trade and supply chain finance. And then marketing strategies on the mid and longer term showcase the power of collaboration across traditional and fintech to build brand within the industry. So let's sum all of this up. We've talked about different responses, the immediate one, the short term, and the mid to long term. The immediate response really should be customer communication. Focus on business continuity and maintain communication with your customers. Adapt your messaging, maintain your dialogue, effectively respond to changes in consumption scenarios, and focus marketing on relevant products. Then short term, change management. Adapt communication messaging, readjust your marketing strategy, and ensure sufficient marketing investment. Adapt the assurance, assistance, and action creative framework to communicate with and anticipate your customers' needs. Rethink your existing strategies on brand versus performance campaigns. Leverage platform strengths and focus on where people are spending their time. So avoid spending all ads, but rather change your strategy to stay top of mind for when demand picks up again. And then the mid to longer term, demand rebound and structural enhancements. Seize demand rebounds and make long-term strategic adjustments. Estimate market recovery and plan for sufficient marketing investment and inventory distribution. Leverage learnings to enhance internal capability of the company. For example, gain visibility on supply chain resilience. Focus on developing contingency plans for future crises. And remember that some changes in consumer behavior may be personal shifts. So plan for these business and marketing implications, not only in the short term, but also in the long term. And remember, you're not alone in this journey. We will do everything within our control to help you and be there for you in these challenging times. We can, of course, help with your strategy the coming months to ensure the right usage of the platform during the consumer behavior that is changing. And we can, of course, also help you on a more tactical side with media planning, optimization, and creative, for example. Please reach out to your Facebook representative to start the conversation on how Facebook can help you on this journey. With that being said, that concludes the webinar of today. We created a 3-question survey after you close this webinar, and it will also be sent in the follow-up email. And please take 1 minute to fill this out. This helps us to ensure that we can be of most value during these challenging periods. We will also send a follow-up email with all the resources we can share, including the recording of this webinar, so that you can reference to this webinar whenever you need. Again, please note that this is the data that we have as of today, and the situation is quickly changing. And lastly, thank you all so much for taking the time to watch this webinar. we are here for you in the challenging times. So please use us to be valuable to you as a business. And remember, lastly, please all stay safe and healthy, and let's all work and hope that these challenging times are improving soon, and that we all will be back to normal reality soon again. Stay safe and healthy, everyone, and thank you so much for joining today. Thank you, Babette, for presenting as well, and thank you, Regina, for sharing your thoughts and acknowledging the businesses here. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Is iedereen weg?
Nee.